under debt, students need to find another outlet in order to afford their education. They go into debt. Matt Stoller wrote this brilliant article. Matt Stoller used to be Alan Grayson's advisor. He writes at nakedcapitalism.com. He wrote this great article titled The Second Sharecropper Society. And it talks about how you have to take this phenomenal debt on just to get into the workforce. And now you're in debt for life. And I cannot emphasize how important this is in an economics scale, in my point of view, that when you're buried under debt, now you're a slave for the bank. I can't say it anything other than that. And when you hear people talk about, I don't want to be a slave to the government, well, I don't want to be a slave to the bank. And I don't want to be paying off debts until my kids are starting to accrue their own debts. We have to look at the entire foundational structure of education in the light of, let's see, what's a good word for it? We need to look at it in a sustainable manner. How can we provide education to the people of America so that they can move forward and prosper and grow their own wealth without burying them under debt to the point where they're just not paying off till they're 45 or 50? So I think the student debt thing is a huge issue, and you can't go to these kids, and I met a lot of them, I have student loans myself I haven't paid off. You can't tell them, like, dude, life's getting worse, and it's getting more expensive too. Yeah, no wonder they're marching in the streets. Don't act surprised.
So I'm getting the wrap-up signal. So the last question I want to ask is about media coverage, and I want to be very careful here, especially at Netroots, to separate between the establishment media and the alternative media. So I wanted to ask you, what has the establishment media's press coverage been like? And I know it's been abysmal most of the time, but in terms of enthusiasm for covering stuff like Occupy the Hood and Occupy Homes, do you see it as being on the same level as when, in the first couple weeks of Occupy Wall Street, when people were like, what the hell is this thing, you know?
Would you like me to address that?
Whoever would like to tackle that first.
I think as far in terms of I mean, there's a huge difference, right? In the first couple of weeks, we were out in the streets, civil disobedience, kind of an uprising of that we haven't seen in a while. So obviously, the first couple of weeks, the established media was kind of on the track of, these kids, they don't know what they're doing. Why are they shutting down a bridge? Why are they marching in Union Square? What's with the street thing? And why, so on and so forth. And many people thought that too before they came down, not just, the established media, because people, weren't there and didn't feel connected. So, I got that. And obviously the first week, we were on a media blackout, from the established media. We didn't really get covered from the big things until after the Union Square marches and after the YouTube videos came out. But occupying your homes, the best part about that, I mean, in this particular case, is that it's hard for the established media to say, if they're not going to report anything good about it, they really can't report on anything about it. To think of any of the corporate media, established media, to say, this is a bad thing, that would have just been a really bad narrative. And the fact that there were also different cities that stood up in their own ways too. They went to auction, foreclosure auctions and so on and so forth. They went to K Street, shut down K Street, where the financial district is, in DC. So it was so hard of a story, and they hit it from all different angles, and that it worked really perfectly. And even, I can name a ton of papers that I never would think were anything nice about us that were like, oh, this is wonderful. Look at these people in this home. It was great.
Yeah, I think, we just had, Time Magazine say that the protester was the person of the year, and, yeah. And, think about established media, they're going to be late, you know what I'm saying? That's just, how they roll. But, I was just actually, Malik Rasan, who's the founder of Occupy the Hood, was just in Pittsburgh, and I asked him that question about it. About specifically media coverage of him and the different interviews and stuff that he's done, and he said it's been pretty much fair. But and what I love about him, and also Occupy Wall Street, and also of course the Fox Slayer on the left, that he stays on message. His message is you talk to him, my message is simple: food, clothing, shelter. And when you talk about that in light of you know, the economic crisis that we face, the political crisis that we face, the crisis in general that we face, it's hard to really try to come back or paint that in a way other than people wanting their fair share. And so that was, to me, one of the greatest things that Occupy Wall Street did was it began to change the conversation. We went away from debt, you know, oh, we need to cut debt, to income inequality, and really beginning to break down what people were really going through and putting a face to the suffering of the masses of the people right here in good old USA.
Well, great. Thank you guys. And I want to say that you're all doing amazing work, and for everybody to really support Occupy, especially through the winter months, because that's when they're going to need it the most. So thanks for coming.